Welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English. You can find me at www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk and UK Astrologer. Third attempt. My software has crashed a few times this morning, so I'm going to get back to it. So today I'm going to cover something in a very small detail that you might have heard of and you might want to explore. This isn't something that I use because I don't do medieval astrology, but since we're learning astrology with Mary, you might as well know everything about astrology there is out there to learn, and then you can make a decision about whether or not you want to go any further with it or do it for your own chart. So what we're going to be covering today is a thing called Decans. I covered it once with one person's chart in 2019, so I am going to expand a little bit more about it today. But as I say, it isn't something that I use. There's only so many hours in the day and so many things that I can do with the chart before my brain explodes. But what I hope to be able to do today is to explain this to you so that you'll understand it a bit and maybe explore it a bit more. So, what are decans? Now, I'm quoting from astro.com because I'll put the link on there so you can read this for yourself, just because they are describing it in a much easier way than the multiple books that I've read through this morning, and again my brain fried. So decans. Each zodiac sign can be subdivided into 3 segments of 10 degrees, because as you know, each sign of the zodiac is 30 degrees big. These segments are called decans or decanantes, from the Greek deca, meaning 10. Some authors also call them the faces of the zodiac signs, from the Latin facies or the Greek, blah, can't read it, and the Arabic, blah, blah, blah. A planet is assigned to each decan as its ruler. Now, you already know about rulers, one hopes. In Arabic and Hellenistic astrology, the decans were also associated with star constellations, but I'm not going into that because that again is going to make it too complicated. Now, Astro.com offers the following methods of decans in the extended chart selection. So we're going to do this live and we're going to do it together, and then I will also be explaining for you how to find your decans. So on astro.com, they've got more than one method to do your 10 degrees things. And I'm only going to demonstrate for you today 2 of those. One that astro.com calls traditional decans, and the other which is the Chaldean decans. If I pronounce any of this wrong, please email me. In the traditional decans, which is based on triplicity. So your triplicity is, if you remember, your earth, air, fire and water. And you know those as well, and so do I. So traditional decans, we call this method traditional because in modern astrology it's the most common one, and therefore, inverted commas, has tradition. More correctly, it should be called decans according to triplicity. The rulers of the decans are derived from the rulers of the signs of the same element. The decan rulers of Aries are the other fire signs. So we've got the rulers of Aries, Leo and Saggy, thus are Mars, the Sun and Jupiter, because Mars rules Aries, Leo rules the Sun and Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So the decan rulers of the next sign, Taurus, will be the other earth signs, Virgo and Capricorn. Thus, the rulers to Taurus is Venus, the ruler to Virgo is Mercury, and the ruler to Capricorn is Saturn. Now, it says on there, so the new planets, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto, are also accepted as sign rulers in this system. However, there is an option on astro.com that you can turn Uranus to Pluto off, which we are not going to do. We're going to keep them on. The method of decans is found in Indian texts of late antiquity. It seems to have been introduced in Western astrology only in the 20th century by the British astrologer Alan Leo. In this system, the decans have the following rulers. So Aries is Mars, Sun, Jupiter, because you're doing your other Earth, as you're doing rather fire signs. Taurus is Venus, Mercury, Saturn. Gemini is Mercury, Venus, and then Uranus / Saturn. Because your other air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and Venus, Mercury rules Gemini, Venus rules Libra, and Aquarius is ruled with the modern ruler of Uranus and the old-fashioned ruler of Saturn. So basically what they're doing is they're tripling up the rulers to each sign, because we're dividing each sign now into these little 10 decans. Okay, you still with me? Let me know if I've confuzzled your brain. Now, so that's the traditional. Okay, so this is what you can use today. Now, we're only doing 2 today. The other is Chaldean decans. With this method, the rulers of the decans follow the order of so-called Chaldean planetary order, which was derived from the geocentric speeds of the planets: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. So Saturn goes jolly slow, Jupiter's a little bit speedier, so that takes 12 years to go through the zodiac. Mars can take a year or not, depending on what it's up to. Then the Sun takes a whole year, Venus takes not a year, I believe, Mercury, and then obviously the quickest is the Moon. Yes, you with me? So the method was taught by Greco-Egyptian astrologer Tusa of Babylon in the 3rd century CE, and the Roman astrologer Firmicus Maternus, 4th century CE, and Matthias something or other. The system was transmitted to modern European astrologer via the Arabic astrologer Abu Mashar, whose work was translated into Latin during the Renaissance. Now, earlier on today, I was reading a book about Adelaide of Bath, and he did a fair amount of translation from Arabic to English or Latin from this Abu Mashar chap, because he'd written an awful lot of books. Anyway, according to this system, the decans have the following rulers. So Aries is Mars, Sun, Venus. Taurus is Mercury, Moon, Saturn. Gemini is Jupiter, Mars, the Sun. Cancer is Venus, Mercury, the Moon. Leo is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars. Virgo is the Sun, Venus, Mercury. Libra is Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. Scorpio is Mars, Sun, Venus. Sagittarius, Mercury, Moon, Saturn. Capricorn's Jupiter, Mars, the Sun. Aquarius is Venus, Mercury, Moon, and Pisces is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars. Now this is to do with the order they put them in, which is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Okay, and they go sort of through the zodiac, and then the next ruler comes into the list. So obviously someone somewhere had a lot of time on their hands to have even developed these systems. Whether or not they work or you can do anything with them is a completely different thing. I just wanted to explain what they are. Now, to find them, what you do is you go to astro.com. Okay, to be able to create your chart with these decany things in them. And we're only going to do 2. We're going to do the traditional with all of the rulers to all of the signs, and then we're going to do the Chaldean one. So you go to extended chart selection, which you get to by going to free horoscopes, drawing and data, and then if you click horoscopes, drawing, data, you'll see extended chart selection. Now you won't see that if you haven't made an account at astro.com. An account at astro.com is free, doesn't cost you anything, and when you've made it by registering with your email address, you can store 100 charts on there. Okay, so you click to extended chart selection, you choose your person. So my person I'm choosing today is my past sister Katie. So I've got her name in the box that says horoscope 4. Now you leave everything else the same. You can change your house systems or whatever you want to, but if you just were to leave everything the same, go down the page to where it says display and calculation options. And in the center of that, it says Uranus, Pluto on, off, which I just mentioned a minute ago, Chiron off. You're only going to use, we're only doing 2 today. We're doing traditional decans and Chaldean decans. So I'm going to tick the box that says traditional decans. Now, the way they do it on astro.com, anything that isn't after the name of someone or anything like that, it's always in a small letter. So even though it says traditional decans, you'd think they'd start it with a capital T. They don't start with a small t. It's the other thing that always confuses people. When you choose equal house system, it does it with a little e, not a big one. But anyway, so we then click, so keeping everything else the same. So if you follow along with me and you do your chart, you've got your chart up the top there, and then you tick the box that says traditional decans. Underneath, display and calculation options, click here, show chart, boof. Now, to see today's charts, you'll have to go to the show notes, and I will remind you once again of the location of them, which is to go to astromary.libsyn.com. On YouTube, I will put the link on the show notes, so you will be able to click on that and you'll be able to see what chart I've shared. Now, I'm using my sister's chart, and the reason I've used hers is because I know for a fact that she's got an Aries ascendant, just so that you can see the sort of rulery things a bit more easily, because I mentioned earlier that with the traditional decan system, we're dividing everything up to earth, air, fire, water, and the first sign of the zodiac as Aries. So in her chart, she's got an Aries ascendant, which is 8 degrees Aries, which cuts into the Mars bit, because the Aries 30 degrees is divided into 10 degrees segments, going Mars, Sun, Jupiter, because that's the rulers to the other fire signs, and her ascendant's 8 degrees, so it goes slicing through Mars. Okay, so she very, very, very much, I have talked about her chart before, was a person that was not reactive is the wrong word, but you would always hear the truth from her. She found it near enough impossible to, I don't think she could lie, actually. I don't ever remember her lying. She'd just tell you as it was. Okay, she was very, very upfront. She's got moon 11 degrees in her first house, so her moon would then fall into the decan of the sun. So we've got a sun moony thing, and because the Jupiter part of that first decan would start at 20 degrees. She ain't got anything 20 degrees into Aries. She's got an ascendant 8 degrees, so that's a Mars rulery thing. The moon is 11 degrees, so that takes us to the second decan, which is the sun, and then there's nothing going on with the Jupiter. Now, like anything in astrology, you can read whatever you want into something. I think the reason that they've used these systems is more for orrery astrology, is pretty useful for that. There is mention of it in Chris Mitchell's wonderful book, England's First Astrology Book, of Roger of Hereford's Judicial Astrology. So Chris Mitchell wrote a whole book about this England's first astrology book, beg your pardon. So he was an astrologer, and Chris, whose birthday it is today, happy birthday, Chris. He's got a nice diagram on page 204 that does Aries is Mars, Sun. He does its Sun, Mars, Sun, Venus, because he's using the Chaldean system. Okay, we're not with Katie's chart. We're using the traditional system because we're going to take into account all of the planets. Dum 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 dum. Now, if you look on this chart that I've put there, and you go to the sign of the zodiac, Cancer, you'll see it goes Moon, Pluto, Neptune. Okay, because the other two water signs are, so we've got Cancer, which is water, and then we've got Scorpio, which the modern ruler to Scorpio is Pluto, and then you've got the modern ruler to Pisces, which is the other water sign, is Neptune. So that's how this system works, taking into account the inverted commas modern ruler. With me? The other one will be, so where was the other one I saw that's the weird one? Okay, yes. So if you go to the sign Aquarius, which is Katie's, it's sort of in between her 10th and 11th house, It starts with Uranus, because Uranus is the modern ruler to Aquarius. Then it goes Mercury, because that's the ruler to the other air sign, which is Mercury or Gemini. And then you've got Venus, which is the ruler to Libra. Yeah? With me? Hope so. Hope I haven't lost you. And then when we go to the sign Pisces, we've got Neptune, modern ruler. The moon is the other ruler to the other water sign. And you've got Pluto, which is the ruler to Scorpio. So that's how those planets are then added into this Decani system. Yeah. So one of the things I read was that people observed more the passage of time back in the day. Yeah, so if you're sitting around, there wasn't an awful lot, so much to do as you might do today, because you'd be scrolling on your phone today or watching the telly, or I don't know, travelling to work. I think life is a lot more busy today, so people today probably don't notice the passage of time. But because this is the Chaldean system, which we're going to do in a minute, which is the more time-based system, people probably had more time to do this sort of stuff, but equally would pay more attention to the passing of time. Yeah, I don't know about you, but a day can zing by. So that's Katie's chart, been made with the traditional, which is tradition as it is now, but like the modern day rulers. Yeah, to each sign has the other, so Earth has got the other Earth signs, Air's got the other air signs, Cancer's got the other water signs, yeah, Leo's got the other fire signs, and so on. You know all your rulerships. Yeah. So now we're going to do the chart again, and this time, so back to astro.com, go to extended chart selection. I've lost my place. Let me go back. You're going to go to free horoscopes, drawing and data, extended chart selection, bonk. You're going to stick your person's name in the box, and you're going to scroll down. You're going to go to display and calculation options, and the middle section says traditional astrology options, and you're going to click on the one that says Chaldean Decans. Boop. So there we go, and you'll see that the divisions are now different. So when previously with Katie with the triplicity, she's got her rulers as Mars, Sun and Jupiter, because they're the other fire signy things. With this Chaldean method, which is the more difficult one of the two, she's got Mars, Sun and Venus, because as I said earlier, the Chaldean ones are in the order, which is their geocentric speeds: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Yes, so that's the order that they do them in. So we've got Mars, and then it goes to the Sun, and then it goes to Venus, and then we get to Taurus. So we're going to go Mercury, Moon, and then back to Saturn again. So we get to Gemini, and we're going to start with Jupiter because we left off with Saturn, and that's all it is all the way around, but starting with Aries. We're going to go in the order of Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun. So I'm now on the sign Gemini, and we're going Jupiter, Mars, the Sun. We get to Cancer, which is Katie's fourth house. Near enough. We've got Venus, Mercury, the Moon, and so it goes on all the way around, because they ain't going to be using the modern rulerships. Yeah, it's just this geocentric order that the planets are in. Okay, so you'll see that her decans have got different different planets. Yeah, we're talking planets in them, and of course then you're going to be doing your charts, and you're an ancient astrologer or a modern one or whatever, and you've made those extra divisions. I suppose you could, if something's in its rulership and it's in a good place, I presume that's a better thing. If something's in your detriment, or whatever the other things are called, detriment and fall and whatever, it's not quite so fluffy. But there always is, with anything you learn, there's easy ways of doing things and there's complicated ways of doing things, and from where I sit and the work that I do in the astrology that I do, I truly don't like to complicate things. And as wonderful as decans are, I don't have A, the headspace to do it, or B, I don't know enough about it to use it. Okay, I have not learned medieval astrology. I've learned, inverted commas, modern astrology. So now, according to our wonderful Chris Mitchell in his book, he says there are 5 techniques for determining planetary strength called dignity, used by medieval astrologers, although their provenance is earlier, and are described by Ptolemy, I can never pronounce his name, but I hope that's right, sign rulership, exaltation, triplicity rulership, terms also called bounds and faces. So sign rulership is the strongest of these. There are 7 planets and 12 signs. Planets beyond Saturn weren't known to medieval astrologers, but 2 of these planets have special significance as the lights, the sun and the moon. The sun is given rulership of the sign Leo, and the moon rules the adjacent sign Cancer. Well, you already know that, okay? This leaves 5 remaining planets and 10 signs, so each planet has 2. So each planet is given 2 signs to rule. Mercury, the fastest moving, is given to the rulership of Gemini and Virgo. The 2 signs closest to Leo and Cancer, Venus. The next fast moving is given rulership of Taurus and Libra, and the next signs and out and so on in symmetrical pattern are what I mentioned earlier. So any planet that's in a chart that's in the sign that it rules is particularly strong. So we give some examples. So Mars in Aries, which it rules, is great. Yeah. Now in Katie's case, so if it doesn't matter which method I use, I think both of those have got Mars rulers. Hold on. Just get them back up again. So in the Chaldean one, we got Mars as the first on the ascendant. Yeah, in the triplicity, we got Mars. So that means in medieval astrology, because she's got Mars in her triplicity on her ascendant, known as, yes, so that's the Lord of the ascendant. So Mars will be her ruler, because in his book he's talking about something else, and the ruler to that's the sun. So Mars, so it's like I'm going to bash you in the face with the Mars thing. Mars, yeah. If a planet's in a sign opposite to the one it rules, for example, if Mars is in Taurus or Libra, the planet is said to be in detriment and therefore weak. So he talks about Mercury in Pisces is in detriment. Trust me, I know that. I natally have Mercury retrograde in Pisces. It's as detra-flipping-minkle as you can get. The next strongest dignity is exaltation. Like the elegant symmetry of sign rulership, there's no obvious logic to exaltation. Saturn is exalted in Libra, Jupiter in Cancer, Mars in Capricorn, the Sun in Aries, Venus in Pisces, Mercury in Virgo, which it also rules, and the Moon in Taurus. Many texts even assign precise degrees to exaltation. The Sun is exalted in all of Aries, but particularly at 19 degrees of Aries. I can't go into astrology that much, okay? I'm losing the will to deliver that point, but if you're a geek, you're going to love it. If a planet's in the sign opposite to the one in which is exalted, for example, if Mars is in Cancer, the planet is then said to be in fall and therefore weak. By the Middle Ages, all signs were considered as being related to Aristotelian elements as follows. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and fire signs, blah, 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 we know all those. And that's the triplicities, okay? And the essential rulerships are called triplicity rulerships, which is the first example that I've given you. Now, these things change with that Chaldean method. If it's a nighttime chart, then there's different rulers, which I won't go on into. You can read up on that if you want to get into it further. So there are uses for it that I don't use, but other astrologers do. And I think it's important when you are into astrology that even if you don't use something, you at least have heard of it and have a vague idea of what it's about. And then if you want to go and learn more about it, then do that, okay? Plus, I'm complicated things by using the equal house system. I expect this probably looks a little bit more fluffy if you use the whole sign method, because, yeah, it might look a little bit less busy. And the disadvantage to doing this is your chart now looks super busy, and especially if please don't do this if you're just learning astrology. Your brain will fry. Hopefully you know a little bit about it. It's like, what I've noticed in Katie's chart, is that right? In her 10th house, yes, she's got her sun in the sign of Capricorn at 26 degrees, and the rulerships of Capricorn are the other earth signs. Is that right? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the Chaldean chart, beg your pardon. So in the Chaldean chart, Capricorn is divided up to Jupiter, Saturn and the Sun, because of this orderly thing that they're doing. And she's got her Sun at 26 degrees into Capricorn, is that right? 26, yeah. And so that's the last decan of Capricorn. So I presume if I was a medieval astrologer and she's got the Sun in the rulership of the thingy, then that's a plus point. So that's with the Chaldean system. And then with the triplicity, her Sun is Mercury, because that's we got Saturn is the ruler to Capricorn, then we got Venus is the ruler to the other earth sign, which is Taurus, and then the third sign is Virgo. Yeah, okay. So yeah, you could sort of make nice associations with things if you want to connect them and do extra stuff. So today we've been talking just a teeny bit. I just wanted to just run past you a small thing. If I don't know a lot about something and I don't use it a lot, I don't want to talk about something I don't know about. But I just wanted to introduce that to you. I do know people that use it. I know it's lovely and fluffy and works for them. And it is a nice technique. And I've just described to you how you can even get that put into your chart without it costing you an arm and a leg, because astro.com is free. So today we've been discussing decans. Have a look at your chart, see if you've got anything that's in the right sign, in the right thingy, in the right what's it. And I would probably use the modern version, the triplicities. If I was going to use it, I would definitely use the modern day rulers, because I use those anyway, and that wouldn't fry my brains. So if you've got any queries about astrology, or you'd like to have your chart on the podcast, then ping me over an email, mary@maryenglish.co.uk. I am still lining up some guests to come on, and people are cancelling. So I hope you have a fab week, and I'll be back next week. Bye-bye now.